the bottom line
is... After the commercial, I'm going to tell you I've got an update on that $134 billion in bonds that were seized in Italy.
Oh, that's a good story. All right,
they're
very
here
good.
in Japan now, and they're trying to cash them. But they're not
really?
Get it.
That one of the people that visited you, was it?
Well, yeah, the people who have it, the two Japanese who were arrested were a guy called Yamaguchi.
All right, hang on.
A guy called Watanabe.
Got it. Hold on. Be right back. With Ben Fulford, live from Tokyo. Back. Talking to Ben Fulford. All right, Ben, so... This story, it's one of those stories that comes and goes too quickly. Go ahead.
Two Japanese men carrying diplomatic passports were arrested in Italy, carrying $134.5 billion worth of government bonds. Now, the official cover story that went out was that they were forgeries, but of course the two men were released. So it's just, and then they just left it at that. But in fact, the Pope, Ratzinger, personally intervened to have them released. And then the bonds were sent back to the Federal Reserve Board, and they were using that. They were going to use that in an attempt of economic warfare against Iran, and it was stopped. And so some Turkish guy and a Macedonian with a Swiss passport showed up in Japan with those bonds, and they're trying to get former Governor of Bank of Japan and prime ministers and stuff to help cash them to keep the feds going. Well, that's not going to happen. It's been stopped, and those people have been arrested, and so their whole sort of network of flunkies here in Japan is being flushed out now. But it's still an ongoing thing. We still have the Queen of England messing around. We still have the feds still trying to do their thing. I mean, there's still, and then we got Ratzinger, who's blocking good work within the Vatican. The Vatican wants to release the new technology, and it's only the Pope, I believe, and maybe the Black Pope, the head of the Jesuit, holding back. I know he's officially not the Superior General anymore, but he really is. But if these people don't block it, it'll happen soon. There's important meetings now happening in Switzerland, in Japan, and probably in the U.S.
Bill, this issue of bills, these are not like currency. These are still. I'm going to go back to this effort to cash these. These are bonds or bills. What are they? They're bonds. What were they?
Bonds and the bills, and they're backed by gold.
Okay.
And they have deliberate misspelling and stuff on them, so they can always say, "Oh, look, this is an obvious forgery," right?
All right. But do you think they're real?
Well, they're real, but they're no longer valid.
Okay.
In other words, the Chinese say, no, we don't consider those to be valid anymore. They weren't.
Is this a story, Ben? Is this story in the media there? Has anyone been talking about this, or did you just pick it up through your sources?
I picked it up through my sources. I mean, the media here only mentioned it when they were arrested in Italy in June, and then it's just been silent. But I have sources with the Japanese security police and the Yakuza and all sorts of folk who keep me... I mean, I have so much information they're giving me. It's almost like, when you get all the secret information coming to you, just stop reading the newspaper because it's all just a fabric of lies. It's not worth your time to read it stuff anymore.
Well, I can't sum it up any better than that.
It's almost like a Harry Potter world where you have these witches and these people and then the muggles, Mm-hmm. And the muggles are the poor fools who still get their information from the corporate propaganda media. And it's like we're living on two different planets almost.
Well, at least two.
Yeah. And they throw all sorts of disinformation my way. I mean, I know that probably the universe is full of life and there are extraterrestrials, but I'm not going to believe it until I see the mile-long UFO with my own eyes, and I'm not going to let that disinformation...
Well, then somebody might tell you it's just a holographic image, Ben. It's not real.
Well, if I see it and it looks real to me, then I'll
right.
And if I see aliens walking around the shopping centers, then I'll know. But until then, I'm still assuming that it's up to us humans to fix this planet.
Yeah, well...
And you've got to remember, despite all the confusion, all the subterfuge, all the disinformation, it's really, really a simple thing that's going on. A very nasty criminal group has taken control of most of the world's savings, and they've been spending on a giant military killing machine for decades.
Nicely
and
said.
The whole planet.
Decades? How about centuries?
Centuries, yeah. And now the people of the planet have risen up, led by the Chinese and the Asians, but also by the white hats in the Pentagon and in Europe and people like yourself. And we're saying, look, that's no way to spend people's money. And instead, they're going to spend it on the environment, on ending poverty, on developing the forbidden technology. And the deal with the Pentagon is we'll hire them to be like the samurais, the protectors of the planet, and we'll make sure that, because they've told me repeatedly they don't want to end up like the Soviet Union where you have a general suddenly finds himself driving a taxi in London, And so they will be paid generously to help get rid of the Fed. And then there'll be a sort of swords to plowshares transformation of that organization.
Boy, you're a therapy to my ears. Every time you're on, you bring this positive spin forward, and everyone hopes you're right.
You see, here in Japan, the change has already taken. The new government, if you just read what's in the newspapers here now, and it's not being reported in the Western press much, you can see that there has been a total regime change from what was put in place after World War II. So it's already happened here. That's why I'm much more optimistic, because the U.S. is still under control of these satanic scumbags. But not for long, not for long. Their day of reckoning is coming. Bit by bit, piece by piece, a prosecution here, a court case there, an arrest there, a suicide there, and it's coming apart. They're slowly being ground down to dust. You got Paul Wolfowitz, he's like one of the number one bad guys now. I'm hearing rumors, I can't confirm, that George Bush Sr. and Barbara Bush were killed at Fort Hood. We still don't know if that's true or not, but...
What?
Well, according to MI6, what happened at Fort Hood, there was a bunch of big limousines there at the time. And we know that much. And we know that George Bush Jr. and his wife immediately flew there to so-called console the victims. Well, they didn't immediately fly to any other...
No, he wouldn't. No, that wouldn't work. All right, hold on with this story. Ben gets a lot of wild stuff. I want to hear this in detail in just a couple minutes from Benjamin Fulford live in Tokyo, so stay right there. Okay, talking with Ben, as we do once a month, in Tokyo. All right, Ben, go right ahead. Tell me more about this.
My source is the head of MI6, okay? And he says that they haven't been able to confirm it 100% that George Bush Sr. was shot at Fort Hood. But we do know, from just media reports that, first of all, the official story is full of holes and contradictions, and they flip-flop many times. First 3 killers and one, and the guy's dead, now he's alive, and then, just confusion.
Common.
And we know there were a bunch of big limousines there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that George Bush Jr. immediately flew over there. And
how do we know that?
Wait and see. If he's dead, eventually they'll have to put his body.
Excuse me, Ben. How do we know that Jr. flew there immediately? How do we know this?
Well, that's in normal corporate media reports. That like people at AP or something was saying this. So this is how we know that.
Okay.
Allegedly to console the victims, right? According to those reports.
Let me look this up. Go ahead.
And there is, like I said, there is a war going on, a financial war, and there is a huge faction in the intelligence community, in the Pentagon, working worldwide in cooperation with the Chinese and the Asians to flush these people out, to get them. So there are a lot of good guys at work, and it's behind the scenes. The Nazis control most, 96% of the English language media, so they keep putting out garbage and nonsense. And if you have any mathematical ability or brains, you can see that what they're saying is not making sense. It's a tissue of lies. Look at the Federal Reserve Board's books, for example, or look at the Baltic Drying Index. That's the cost of shipping. It's 1/10 of what it was a year ago.
Okay. All right, we know about the Baltic. Hold on, Ben.
There's a real unemployment rate of over 30%. Yeah. Everything's coming apart.
Okay, hold on a second. It is true that Bush Jr. and Laura flew to Fort Hood. The stories are also running around that Bush Sr. was there, and that the Fort Hood shootings were a cover story for the recovery of Chinese currency boxes by the Bush crime gang?
I don't believe about the currency boxes story.
There's so much crap out there. That's the problem. I mean,
the currency boxes just doesn't make sense. There's no way that, you don't need these boxes.
It's not even
I don't believe
good
that
fiction.
part of it.
Stupid.
But again, I don't get this from that Christopher Story character. I get it from a separate source.
All right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling you this.
I know.